Hi, hello. I got literally a cry for help from a lady, Jensen in Canada. They've purchased a property, as in they put their signature down to purchase it, and they have 2 weeks left, and then it's theirs. And as they found out, there's a electrical substation and transmission lines in the vicinity. And so the question is, well, what should I be worried about it? What sort of a distance? What should I be measuring? What should I be investigating? I've got 2 more weeks to get out of this thing, and then I'm stuck with it. All right, so the distance that she gave me was 15 kilometers. Now that is a fair distance. So I shouldn't say that I think you'll be right. Because there's always surprises, but that's a nice, decent distance. With magnetic fields from transmission lines, there's a lot of research on childhood leukemia studies, which tend to pop up at magnetic field strengths of 4 milligauss and up. And there's also research on leukemia basically having an increased rate at a distance up to 1200 meters from transmission lines, which I would have also thought was a reasonable distance, but I think that might be a bit of a combination with the local distribution lines running through the street. So, let me impress upon you that it doesn't matter what's nearby, or what you see or what you can't see, because there's cables underground. There can be cables running up and down your street, at the back of your property, the side of your property, the front of your property. And we as consultants, we are typically more confronted with homes that have magnetic fields problems from those local distribution lines than from transmission lines. Yeah, obviously near transmission lines, very near transmission lines, you have an obvious problem and you want to keep your distance, fair distance. But if you don't see any, or if they're far away, don't make the mistake to think that you're good now. You may not be. And so the punchline is always the same. Measure and you'll know. So what I encourage Mrs. Jensen to do, and everybody else listening to this video, is get yourself a TF2. There's many amateur meters, and we also sell different ones, not the cheap stuff. I mean, you're going to take a big decision based on this information. It's okay to spend a little bit of money, but this thing excels at magnetic fields. It does it on 3 axes, makes it easy to use, and gives you good insights on magnetic fields. So what you want to do is, when you want to go to that property before time runs out, and if you're about to purchase a property, any of you, you need to have one of these things whilst you're house hunting. Stop emailing us. Don't stop emailing us. But, stop asking us what's the safe distance. You always get the same answer back. Measure and you'll know. Because if I tell you a certain distance is safe, well, then you might go a little bit outside that area and it might be a terrible situation and you got yourself stuck in a house based on somebody's recommendation based on distance. If I widen the range and say, this distance you'll be fine, then you're going to discount a lot of houses which would be perfect places for you to live. As in, the typical house is not perfect for you to live. It needs work. Most houses have problems with it. That's why we're so busy. Of course, 5G and all the other stuff coming, but for years we've already been dealing with the electric field exposure we get from our wiring inside our house. So every house needs to have something mitigated. That's pretty much the rule. So you need to go to this property and you need to grab your TF2 and you put it on standard measurement magnetic and you go and walk the boundary of your property all the way around. I mean, yeah, sure, if it's, if you've got 15 acres, it might be a bit of a hike, but you want to walk around the area where you would potentially be living, building, doing an extension, putting another building up, whatever, your usable area you want to measure. You want to go for a decent walk. If there's an underground cable running along the perimeter of your property, you'll pick that up with this meter. More interestingly enough, the power running at the front of the property, that has a magnetic field which you're underestimating. And most of the time this is not a problem, but many times it is. And so you want to measure the magnetic field standing underneath it, and basically walk into your front door, see how that declines. Now, the government exposure limits to most of this radiation type in most countries is 1,000 milligauss, or 833 milligauss, I think it's in Canada. So these rules were set so long ago, it's not funny, all based on thermal properties, on the tissue cooking. Well, of course, a lot goes wrong with you before you're cooking. So 1 milligauss is basically where the bad news starts in terms of magnetic fields. 1.6 milligauss doubles its chances of sperm abnormalities, research relates to us, and from 2 milligauss up we have cancer studies starting to kick in, childhood leukemia 4 milligauss and up, and again the government limits typically 1,000 or 833. So you want to have a house where you're away from 1, right? You want to have a buffer because magnetic fields are caused by current. Current is the usage of electricity, and the usage of electricity is never the same, is it? It always varies, even varies throughout the day. It'll be worst in the afternoon, typically, not always, and typically lower at night, typically. So best to go measure in the afternoon when it potentially is at its worst. But if you're looking at buying a property and you're planning on being there for a few decades, do you think it's a good idea to go there at night? I would, right? Come back a few times, park your car there, sit there for an hour, put that meter in front of you, do a bit of logging, see what you get. So 1's the bad news. So we don't want to really sign up for something when you've got 0.9 through the house or 0.8. I think that's too close, don't you? But the government rules 1,000, so you got to make up your own mind on what you think is acceptable. But 0.8, 0.9, I wouldn't want to sign up for that. 0.3, 0.2 is what you'd like to see, or less. That'd be brilliant. All right, but then you've got a decent buffer with that 1 milligauss, and of course, maybe they just haven't researched what 0.9 milligauss does. So it's nice to have a bit of a buffer. So with what you think is an acceptable buffer, you have to go through that property. And you want to especially pay attention to the bedrooms, because that's where health is supposed to restore, and most bedrooms don't really help you with that because of the wiring you got in the wall. Separate story. So, but magnetic fields, that's the one thing to measure, because that's the one thing you can't really shield against. As in, you can't. It's so expensive and impractical. You'd buy another house. So, magnetic fields you've got to measure. Go around the property, go around the walls of the house, and walk through the house and get a good idea of what the readings are. This meter also has a second setting which is weighted. Most research is done on standard ways of measuring, not weighted. So I tend to advise people to use the weighted measurement, the standard measurement. But if you get the same numbers in weighted, that's a good sign. Sometimes they can be higher in weighted because it takes different frequencies into account. So I think it's okay to go by standard. But if you're very careful, then you want to go weighted magnetic field and look for similar readings. But you're making it a little bit harder to find a suitable house. All right, so that's what you should be doing. And it doesn't matter that these transmission lines, in your case, Mrs. Jensen, are 15 kilometers away, because I'm more worried about the local distribution lines to your house. I'm more worried about the supply line coming to your house. I'm more worried about having electrical faults in the neighborhood which put current into the soil because their connection with the neutral is broken, and that can track through your house. I'm not going to go into details of that. If you want to know all those sorts of details, you can do my training. Maybe you want to be a consultant. That'd be great. We need a lot more help. But yeah, so it doesn't matter where you intend to live. It's renting, buying, you can see power lines, no power lines. You have to measure magnetic fields, because it's the one thing where we also throw our hands in the air. We most of the time can't help you unless it's something within the property that's wrong. You can tell that, by the way, if outside the readings are nice and inside the readings are terrible. And obviously there's something wrong in the house itself. There's the chance that you could fix that. It'd be nice to fix it before you signed up for it, though, but difficult. All right. Actually, I forgot to mention one thing. If you assess the house yourself, and you've probably assessed many houses to see if it has a problem or not, when you think you've got a winner, you should get a professional to come and double check your work. It's big enough a decision to get an outsider to come in with some more instrumentation. We can test more things than you can, give you good insight of what that property is all about. So don't forget that. Once you think you're on a winner, get a professional to come and check what you found. So second piece of advice is that most houses, 95% of houses, do not have bedrooms, in our opinion and our experience, that are actually are a nice place for your body to rest and regenerate. The biggest problem is electric fields from the wiring in the wall. Second biggest problem will be cell phone towers. And of course now we get 5G, which is going to be even more potent. We've already got so many long-term studies on magnetic fields. 3G, 5G is already a problem. What do you expect when we put another network over the top and it's more potent than the previous ones? We're just getting more trouble. So magnetic fields you must measure before you commit to any property, but you should assume that you have electric field problems. And on a meter like this, I mean, you get what you pay for. This measures the air. I like to measure the body for electric fields, which is far more telling. We also measure the body for radio frequency radiation absorption. We don't measure the air for that. Why? It's about the body. But with a meter like this, if you measure electric fields, it goes down to, let's say, 0 and then 1. If it reached 1, we would already want to mitigate it. We would already want to fix it. The meter is just, you don't get the sensitivity at that price point. So you got to know what numbers you're reading, what you're doing, how you're holding it. And so you should assume that any house you're getting into needs some work done. And you're going to need some assistance. You can't really do this on yourself, by yourself. You need to get one of our consultants to come through your house, assess it, and then together make a plan. And just like if the roof was leaking, you just have to deal with it and you just have to fix it. So you might have to do some shielding with shielding paint. No big drama, put it in place, keeps working, lovely. Electric fields will identify the circuits that are causing this trouble so they can be turned off at night and make for a nice regenerative sleep environment. Now, in relation to this meter, it's not difficult to turn on or to walk around with, but most people, they're not really confident using it because there's so much hanging on that opinion that you're going to be drawing from it that, well, am I using it right? Well, that's why I made an online course, nice and easy. You can go to my own website, healthstronghold.com, go to the shop, and you can book yourself on a self-guided online course in relation to a whole heap of different meters or one meter specifically. And so we have a course for the TF2, we have a course for the Cornet, the TM190, and that's filled with about 3 hours worth of content around about me teaching you about radiation. And then on top of that, we go through that meter specifically. So you see me explain to you how the meter works, how to hold it. You see me walking an empty property and how to assess the radiation there and how to interpret the numbers that you see. We talk about radio frequency radiation, electric fields, so much more details. So as you know, really this is an important decision and important knowledge to gather for you and your family. You need to be a bit prepared. So get yourself one of those meters. You can purchase them from us at healthstronghold.com. These are typically shipped from Australia, so there might be a little bit of a time delay. But you can also book the course, buy the meter somewhere else, book the course with us, and then within a day or two you'll have access to that, and you can let yourself in. You keep access for as long as we keep hosting the course there. There might be years, or you can come back to it, rewatch the videos, and get some knowledge so you have the confidence that you're doing this correctly. All right, so I hope this answers your question, Mrs. Jensen in Canada. There's such an email with "I need your help" in capitals at the front, which is not uncommon, but I thought, all right, I'm going to take this one myself, and I'm due for a little video Q&A, so here it is. I hope you enjoyed it. So take magnetic field serious, measure, and get yourself a decent tool. And for magnetic fields, I don't think you can get past the TF2. This thing's legendary, and it's great for radio frequency radiation. It goes up to 6 gigahertz, so you got your 5G tower to phone frequencies in there as well, so that's good to know. But just again, you got to know your numbers. When this thing indicates 0.01, that's where severe concern in our industry, if we're measuring air with this, which is what this thing does. I normally measure the body, which is a little more concerning. But if you read 0.01 milliwatts per square meter, in our industry that's considered severe, the beginning of severe exposure. At 1 milliwatts per square meter, it goes to extreme exposure. So don't think, oh cool, I've got 0.09. What a nice low number. No, it's not. It's already terrible, and you should be shielding against it. Anyway, house should be done, really. If you can't do that, bedroom should be done. If you can't do all the bedrooms, then the bedroom of the person that has health issues should be done. And if you have children, I think the bedrooms of all children need to be shielded, but that's just me. All right, anyway, I hope you found this useful. Please share this with people. Be social. Hit the like button. That'd be appreciated. And yeah, check out the new website, healthstronghold.com. We'll be adding a lot more content. There's access to professional courses. And yeah, anyway, heaps to see and do. So, all right, hope this was useful.